What's up, your boy Vaughn of the Reaction? In today's video, we have how the 49ers choked their golden era. Make sure like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it. 49. I know when y'all niggas like see Patrick Mahomes' face, y'all just want to scream. Like y'all niggas just think of Patrick Mahomes, y'all get nightmares. Like ah, like nigga, it's a Saints fan, nigga. I just randomly like think of the Minneapolis Miracle or the no call. Like that shit still fuck with me to this day. Like after that shit happened, I kind of started stop caring. Like I detached. Like I don't get as stressed out about football games no more. I'm like, bro, we win or we lose. Nigga. I like to watch. You know what I'm saying? I still support my Saints, you know what I'm saying? I hope we win a Super Bowl, but I don't be stressed out on the edge of my seat no more.
Went to 4 NFC Championship games, had 2 Super Bowl trips, and a roster that, at its peak, had a legitimate case for being the best collection of talent in the entire NFL.
Y'all literally had better rosters than the Chiefs too. Like, and y'all was up in that last Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Whatever, I forgot what Super Bowl that was. Y'all was up during the game.
And yet, they still have 0 rings to show for it. While San Francisco was grinding,
Crazy, their last ring was the 90s. That's crazy.
their own division rivals in the Rams and the Seahawks both managed to win Super Bowls during the exact same window. Even the Eagles made 2 Super Bowls.
That's a tough ass division. I ain't gonna lie, the Rams, Seattle, and the 49ers, that's a hard ass division. And it been hard. It been hard like that. Like
Appearances and took a trophy home. The 49ers were right there so many times, leading in the fourth quarter of some of the biggest games, and yet they were still never able to actually finish the job. To understand how high this team actually climbed, you have to go back to how low they were before Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch walked through the door. Back in 2016, the 49ers finished a miserable 2-14 under Chip Kelly. That defense was softer than tissue paper, giving up 480 points that year, which averaged out to 30 points every single game. The roster had no QB and absolutely no direction. When the front office hired Kyle Shanahan as the head coach and John Lynch as the GM before the 2017 season, people saw it as a massive gamble. Kyle had never been a head coach before, and John was coming straight from a TV analyst booth, so the skepticism around the league was very real. Their first draft together didn't exactly silence the critics right away. Solomon Thomas went 3rd overall and never turned into the franchise-altering pass rusher they expected him to be. However, buried
I remember that nigga, yeah.
in the 5th round of that same draft at pick 146 was a tight end from Iowa named George Kittle. That single pick ended up being one of the best value selections in the history of the franchise because George became a first-team All-Pro and a total nightmare for every defense in the league for years to come. The rest of the roster started taking shape faster than anyone expected. Fred Warner came out of the 3rd round in 2018 and quickly developed into one of the best linebackers in football.
And I ain't gonna lie, John Lynch. I ain't gonna lie, John Lynch. I don't know what you did this year's draft, but you was drafting some niggas. I ain't gonna lie.
Dre Greenlaw,
that 3rd round. I didn't know that nigga was a 3rd rounder.
Followed him as another late-round steal in 2019. Then came the selection.
I'm saying, but them dogs come out them 3rd rounds. We all know this. Like them dogs come out that 4th round, bro. 6, 7, like.
That really changed the trajectory of the team. Because the 49ers went 4-12 in 2018 after Jimmy G tore his ACL in Week 3. That losing record put them in perfect position to take Nick Bosa 2nd overall. Bosa won Defensive Rookie of the Year immediately, which means the 2018 season that felt like a total disaster actually set the foundation for their future success. We also have to talk about the Garoppolo trade itself. In October of 2017, New England sent him to San Francisco for a 2nd-round pick. And while he didn't start until late that year, he went 5-0 to finish the season. He looked exactly like the quarterback this offense needed because he was efficient and smart enough to let Shanahan's scheme do all the heavy lifting. The 49ers signed him to a 5-year extension, and the climb back to the top was officially on. By 2019, every single piece of the puzzle came together at the same time. The team finished 13-3 while ranking 2nd in scoring offense and 1st in rush defense. Raheem Mostert, a journeyman running back who had been cut by 6 different teams before landing in San Francisco, exploded for 220 yards and 4 TDs in the NFC Championship game against the Packers.
Raheem Mostert, that nigga was fast too.
They headed into Super Bowl 54 as legitimate contenders, and Shanahan had plenty to prove on his own. He was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta when the Falcons famously blew a 28-3 lead to New England. So he knew exactly what it felt like to be on the wrong side of Super Bowl history. This was his big
and he been on the wrong side twice. Oh my god. Just look at his face. Like that nigga look like what his name? I forgot his name. Fuck. Shit.
chance to rewrite that narrative, and for 3 quarters in Miami, it looked like he was going to do exactly that. With under 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, the 49ers held a 20-10 lead, and it looked like they were about to cruise to a title. Pat Mahomes had already thrown an interception, Raheem Mostert had just punched in a touchdown run, and the Kansas City Chiefs looked like a young team that had finally run out of answers. San Francisco had the ball, a 2-score lead, and the best rushing offense in the league, which meant all they had to do was run the clock out to secure the ring. The drive started well enough with a 6-yard gain on first down, but then the coaching staff called 3 straight passes.
That nigga look like Kyle Shanahan, look like Ryan Reynolds. That's what he look like. That nigga got eye bags. Nigga look like he depressed. Nigga don't get no sleep.
Passes that went nowhere. This gave the ball back to the Chiefs with the game still very much alive, and it marked the beginning of a total meltdown. Shanahan later claimed the play
up in that Super Bowl too, 2010.
The calls weren't conservative because he was trying to attack favorable matchups downfield. And while the Chiefs had adjusted their defense to make things harder on Jimmy Garoppolo, the eye test doesn't lie. Mostert had 58 yards and a score while averaging nearly 5 yards per carry. Yet after that one run on the possession that should have buried the Kansas City Chiefs, he didn't touch the ball again until after the game was over. The 49ers...
The run, why would you not spend? That's the same shit the Ravens, like when the Ravens lost to the Chiefs in 2023. Why y'all ain't spam the run? The run was working. What was like?
Finished with the second fewest rush attempts they had in any game that season, which is an appalling stat since they had a 10-point lead. Kansas City quickly scored to make it 20-17, and the 49ers needed a response to stop the bleeding. Instead, their next drive burned a pathetic 54 seconds off the clock before they had to punt the ball away. The defense had to go right back onto the field without any...
You giving the ball to Mahomes at this already.
Rest, and Mahomes took full advantage by driving the length of the field twice in the final 6 minutes. Damian Williams caught a touchdown to take the lead and then broke a 38-yard run to seal the 31-20 victory for the Chiefs. Garoppolo finished the night with 219 yards and a miss heard round the world. In fairness to Shanahan, coaching a Super Bowl is a different beast than a regular season game. And Steve Spagnuolo's defense did a great job shifting to take away the ground game. The problem was that Garoppolo was always the biggest question mark on the roster because he was a system quarterback who needed everything to be perfect to succeed. When the Chiefs made it a one-score game, the offense had to function in a way it was never built to function, and the results were disastrous. Shanahan built the offense this way and chose Garoppolo to lead it, but when the moment came to trust his QB or lean on his scheme, he did neither. He wasn't aggressive enough to put the game away, yet he wasn't conservative enough to actually run the clock, and that middle ground cost him everything. The Chiefs became champions while Mahomes became a legend, and Kyle became the first head coach in history to blow a fourth quarter Super Bowl lead as both the coordinator and a head coach. Even though the core was still young with Bosa and Kittle leading the way, the 2020 season was about to prove that championship windows can close shut much faster than anyone expects. The 2020 season didn't just slow down the 49ers, it actually dismantled them to a complete halt before they even had a chance to actually go back to the playoffs and get revenge. Nick Bosa tore his ACL only 9 minutes into week 2, and soon after, Garoppolo, Mostert, Kittle, and Richard Sherman all missed significant time with various injuries. San Francisco finished the year 6-10, which is actually an impressive coaching job considering no team in the league lost more player time to the training room. The 49ers weren't a bad football team that year, but they were a broken one that couldn't keep their stars on the grass. The real issue is what the losing record forced the front office to do during the following offseason. Sitting at the number 12 spot in the 2021 draft, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan decided they needed to swing for the fences to find a true franchise QB. They believed Garoppolo had hit a ceiling and that he would never win them a Super Bowl, so they fell in love with a dual-threat prospect named Trey Lance. Lance had only played one full college season against lower-level competition at North Dakota State, but the 49ers were convinced he was the future.
Why you drafting niggas off one season in college?
And traded a massive haul to move up and get him. The trade cost him 3 first-round picks and a third-rounder just to move from 12 to 3, which is a price tag that usually cripples a franchise if the player doesn't hit. Those picks could have been used on starters or depth pieces to plug holes on the roster, but instead they were spent on a QB who only threw 14 touchdowns in 6 total games. Trey Lance broke his ankle in week 2 of 2022 and never played any meaningful football for the team again, making this one of the worst trades in the history of the sport. Despite the QB drama, the 2021 season still gave the 49ers a shot at the title, which makes the eventual outcome even harder for fans to stomach. They went into the NFC Championship game against the Rams and looked like the better team for 3 quarters, holding
this is when Debo cried.
17-7 lead heading into the final frame. Deebo Samuel had been their most explosive weapon all year, yet in the entire fourth quarter with the Super Bowl trip on the line, he only touched the ball once. The same tendency to protect the lead rather than press the advantage surfaced again, and it allowed the Rams to hang around long enough to steal the game. Matthew Stafford eventually brought the Rams back, and Aaron Donald ended the 49ers season by forcing Garoppolo into a quick throw that sealed the win for Los Angeles. The Rams went on to win the Super Bowl, while San Francisco went home for the second time in 3 years after leading late in a massive game. A clear pattern was forming where the offense simply stopped doing the things
Wasn't that nigga Jimmy Garoppolo though? Wasn't that nigga like dating a porn star or something? Like, then that nigga was dating like a P star or something. I
made
know
them
that nigga be effing a lot of hoes though.
successful as soon as the pressure reached its peak. The window was still technically open because the core was intact, but then something happened that nobody saw coming in the NFL. The 49ers used the very last pick of the NFL draft in 2022 to take somebody out of Iowa State named Brock Purdy. And with the
That's crazy though. Getting a franchise quarterback at the last pick. That's crazy.
very last pick of the final draft, you get the nickname Mr. Irrelevant. The front office viewed him as a depth piece or a practice squad insurance policy behind Jimmy G and Trey Lance.
Even though Brock Purdy, the nigga is a system quarterback, but it is crazy. He is the franchise quarterback, you know. He played terrible in the playoffs. How much money this nigga make? $200 million, man.
In the building,
he made millions of dollars.
Expected him to play meaningful snaps. That changed when Garoppolo broke his foot in Week 13, forcing Purdy to step in and lead the team to 6 straight wins to close the regular season. The offense had been searching for a capable quarterback since the franchise rebuilt itself, and they suddenly found an undefeated starter who was making only $187,000 a year. Luck ran out again during the 2022 NFC Championship game against the Eagles, but this time the disaster felt different. Purdy tore his UCL on his 6th snap of the game after taking a hit from Hassan Reddick, which forced journeyman backup Josh Johnson into the game before he also left with a concussion in the third quarter. The 49ers lost 31-7 with Christian McCaffrey essentially lining up as a makeshift quarterback on some snap.
Bro.
Even though he had only arrived via trade 2 months earlier. This was not a collapse in the traditional sense because the team simply ran out of people who could throw a football. Still, it was a third year the season ended in the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, and a third year they walked away empty.
Yeah, that nigga playing McCaffrey at 5'10" playing quarterback.
We have to talk about the Christian McCaffrey trade.
That reminded me that COVID game where they had the Broncos. They had a wide receiver playing quarterback or some shit like that.
Everything for this roster.
I'm pretty sure the Broncos played us.
In October 2022, San Francisco sent a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th round pick to Carolina for the best running back in football. The Panthers were sitting at 1-5 after firing their head coach, so they needed to reset the roster while the 49ers needed a weapon who could carry an offense when the scheme alone wasn't enough. McCaffrey ran for over 1,000 yards in just 11 games after the trade. And he fit the system so well it looked like Shanahan had built the playbook specifically for him. The pieces were all in place heading into 2023 since Purdy returned from his surgery healthy and McCaffrey had a full offseason to learn the new system. The supporting cast of George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Fred Warner, and Nick Bosa made this the most complete roster the franchise had seen in over a decade. McCaffrey won Offensive Player of the Year by rushing for 1,459 yards and scoring 21 touchdowns, while Purdy finished in the MVP conversation with one of the most efficient statistical seasons in team history. The team went 12-5 to win the NFC West, and they entered the playoffs as the clear favorites to represent the conference in the Super Bowl. The argument that 2023 was the most talented 49ers roster since the Steve Young era isn't a stretch, and the numbers showed the dominance every single week. They beat the Packers in the divisional round before handling the Lions in an NFC Championship game after a great comeback. The team flew to Las Vegas for Super Bowl 58 against a Kansas City Chiefs team that had limped through portions of the season without their best offensive lineman healthy. San Francisco went in as favorites, and the betting line reflected the fact that they had the better roster and more weapons. They also had a head coach who had spent multiple years thinking about what went wrong the last time he was in this position and what he finally has to do to get over the hump. Dre Greenlaw was a critical piece for the defensive identity for the
That nigga Dre Greenlaw tore his ACL jumping and getting hyped before the game, before coming back from halftime, like
49ers, but he tore his Achilles trying to get back onto the field during the first half. It wasn't a
dirty what the fuck
play or a bad tackle. He was literally just trying to get back onto the field. And that completely changed the trajectory of the
what type of luck y'all got 49ers
game. The 49ers still led 10-3 going into halftime after a trick play touchdown where McCaffrey caught a pass from Juwan Jennings. Jake Moody had actually knocked through a 55-yard field goal as well, and the Chiefs looked like a team struggling with injuries and a version of Mahomes that was grinding rather than dominating. San Francisco had every reason to believe the game was theirs to take, especially since the Kansas City Chiefs receiving core lacked depth. In the third quarter, though,
I ain't gonna lie, bro, that 2023 ring, you can say that was the best ring, the hardest ring, the bloodiest ring. You know what I'm saying? That's like, yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
Was where it all unraveled
That team was not supposed to win the Super Bowl, bro.
as the 49ers went 3 and out in back-to-back possessions while still holding the lead. By the end of three quarters, the lead was gone and the score sat at 13-10 Chiefs. The fourth quarter produced one of the strangest sequences in Super Bowl history after Purdy connected with Jennings for a 10-yard touchdown. Moody followed that up with a 53-yard field goal to put San Francisco up 19-16 with under 2 minutes remaining. The defense
Oh my,
needed
look at that pass, Mahomes.
one stop and didn't get it, which allowed Harrison Butker to kick a 29-yard field goal with 3 seconds left to tie it at 19. The game went to overtime, and this is where the lack of preparation became the real story. Shanahan elected to receive the ball first in the new overtime format. The 49ers drove down and kicked a field goal, but under the rules, that meant Kansas City still got the ball with a chance to respond.
Oh my
Shanahan
god.
said after the game he was hoping to get the ball back for a third possession, but that third possession was never going to happen against Andy Reid.
Yeah, like what? Come on.
Came out later that some 49ers players weren't clear on how the new overtime rules actually worked. And while it's
Oh my god, 49ers, bro. Y'all niggas got who? Oh my god.
still hard to prove that would change the outcome, giving Mahomes a ball with a clear objective is always a recipe for disaster.
Like,
He only needed 8 plays to end it with Mecole Hardman catching a touchdown pass 3 yards into the end zone. The final score was Chiefs.
like, bro, look at his wide receiver core who he won this Super Bowl with. Juju Smith-Schuster, McCole Hartman, like
25,
and
49ers
fucking what his name? I be forgetting Valdez Scantlin, yeah.
22. There's a version of the story where bad luck just explains everything, especially with Greenlaw's injury.
Like that's crazy. That nigga tore his ACL on it.
But the pattern remained the same because the 49ers had the game in their hands and let it go twice against the same team. Now the season is over and the bill for those missed opportunities is finally coming due. The 2024 season didn't arrive with any warning, but instead it came as an immediate collapse with everything happening really before the opening snap even happened, especially with Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk spent the entire training camp holding in over his contract.
Y'all be seeing that nigga IG post. He just be doing money spreads and showing off his watches. Like that nigga, it ain't no football in his eyes.
He showed up to practice, but he refused to actually suit up with his teammates. He skipped every single preseason rep while the rest of the offense tried to build chemistry without their number 2 receiver. And the 49ers eventually caved by giving him a 4-year extension worth $120 million. The distraction was bad enough, but then he tore his ACL early in the season and was done for the year.
And you ain't see that nigga ever since.
Leaving the team to deal with the fallout of both the drama and the injury at the same time. The rest of the roster didn't fare much better as Dre Greenlaw only managed 4 total snaps all year after tearing his Achilles in the previous Super Bowl. Christian McCaffrey missed the first 8 games with Achilles tendonitis, and while he returned for a 4-game stretch, he quickly tore his PCL and the team had to shut him down again. Trent Williams missed 6 games and Javon Hargrave only played 3, leading to a miserable 6-11 finish that put the 49ers dead last in the NFC West. The most telling stat was that they were outscored in the fourth quarter by 77 points over the season, which shows us a team that simply couldn't finish games when they had the lead. When you look at the conference picture by the end of 2024,
and I think the 49ers gonna be trash this year. Like they're gonna be trash this year. Like
it tells the full story of what this era actually cost the entire franchise. The Rams won a Super Bowl back in the 2021 season. The Eagles made 2 Super Bowls in the same window and eventually won one in February 2025. There was a small spark in the 2025 season for the 49ers where they went 10-7 and managed to knock off the defending champs Eagles in the wildcard round. The roster finally looked healthy.
Purdy ain't play good that game
and showed real signs of life, but they ended up losing in the divisional round to those Seahawks, who would go on to win the Super Bowl a month later. It was a nice run, but the window that felt wide open in 2023 now feels like it is down to a tiny crack. 3 organizations now are in their direct orbit that collected hardware during the exact same stretch of years that San Francisco spent getting close and coming up empty. The age of this core is becoming a massive problem because George Kittle is now 32 years old and Trent Williams is going to be 38 before the next season. Nick Bosa is 28 with growing injury history. Fred Warner played most of 2024 on a fractured ankle and missed a decent amount in 2025. And McCaffrey's body just got the most touches in the league after coming off an injured.
That nigga stayed healthy this season. He stayed healthy.
Riddled season. The draft capital they traded away for Trey Lance was a tax they're still paying for today. And those 3 first-round picks represent players they never developed and depth they never built. Every dynasty era eventually ends, and while some ends with rings, this one is currently ending with a lot of what if.
Uh-huh.
So there you have it. Watch this next video.
Yeah, make sure to comment, subscribe, and all deuces.